If I was starting as a brand new real estate agent from scratch, knowing what I know after 5 years of being in the industry, this is exactly what I do to grow my business and make over $45,000 a month. So not only will this video show you all the mistakes that you currently are probably making as an agent, but also show you exactly what to do so you can start making more money and start getting listings as fast as possible. And just to give you a quick background on who I am, I'm actually coming from a sales and marketing background in the real estate industry. And I've actually helped close over $234 million worth of listings. I've coached over 1,750 different agents and actively coach over 450 every single month. And in fact, what I'm going to show you right now in this video to help you get more listings, 67% of the agents who use this exact same framework I'm about to show you right now and really overcome these problems, they get a listing appointment within 72 hours or less. Okay, so this is very valuable information, so pay attention, because my whole goal is to help you do the exact same thing and really just help you get up to $45,000 a month in GCI as an agent. Now, what agents think that they really need versus what they actually need to be doing on a daily, weekly, monthly basis is a lot different. And this is one of the mistakes I see agents who are really struggling to get listings. This is the things that are really holding them back from making more money, okay? And most agents think that they need a massive marketing budget, right? That's not the case. Or they think they need more leads. If they just have more qualified leads, they'll get more listings. Or even worse, they think that a social media presence is the key to getting more listings. All three of these things are not going to get you more deals. And if you've been spending the last couple months, the past couple years, focusing on these three mistakes right here, that's probably why you're in the position you're in right now and you're not getting more listings. So this is exactly what you need to be doing. What you need to be doing is learning how to convert any conversation that you have into an actual listing appointment, okay? And one of the best ways to do this is cold calling and sales fundamentals. So once you learn these tricks I'm about to show you here in a second, that's when you actually be able to start getting listings again in as little as 72 hours from implementing on this information, okay? And really once you do that, you'll be able to build a predictable system to generate listings every single month. And that's really what you need and what you want as an agent. That's probably why you got into the industry in the first place, okay? And one of the biggest notes that I want you to understand and take away from this is that your brokerage is failing you, right? So if you're going to your brokerage for advice, if they are not currently making $45,000 or more as an agent in that brokerage, they're not going to be able to help you in the way that you think they're going to be able to help you. They're not. They give you the same sales frameworks, the same scripts, the same runaround they give every single agent, because the whole goal for them is to get as many agents in as possible for their brokerage, and they'll make more money, because even if you struggle, even if you don't get the most amount of deals, you'll still put a little bit of money in their pocket. So their goal isn't to make you the best agent possible. Their goal is just to grow their entire brokerage. That's it. So I need you to understand that right now, that if you're using the same scripts and frameworks and all these different things that all these brokerages give you, there's a reason why if you tried cold calling in the past, it might not have worked for you, or you didn't get the best results. And that's because your brokerage has been failing you, okay? And until you make this change in your business, which I hope you make today, you will not grow as an agent. Your business and your financial situation will not grow, okay? Because what you need to understand is that 80%, literally 80% of all your results come from the 20% of the work that you do, okay? So if you lack predictability in your business right now, if you have no inconsistent income, you just really don't have a good system and a good process to get you in deals, or if you're currently working 8 hours a day or even more, sometimes 10, 12 hours a day and aren't making more money, you are simply focusing on all the wrong things. Like that, it's clear signs. All three of those things are clear signs you're focusing on the wrong things, okay? So what I want you to do is to look at these three big mistakes that you're probably making, and I want you to really implement on the information I'm going to show you to actually change the situation, okay? Because most agents, they go through and they waste times on ineffective networking. This is one of the first things I hear brokerages say to brand new agents is you need to build up your network. You need to build your sphere of influence. You need to get those people in because they're going to give you referrals. That is not a feasible way to grow a real estate business. It's not. And you know that and I know that, right? Because you'll spend months attending useless networking events. And the reality is that again, if you can't even have cold conversations and turn those into actual listing appointments, you're not going to grow your business at all, okay? So what you need to be doing is focusing on prospecting first, because that's actually going to drive you more business, and then worry about networking later. Because when you think about prospecting, right, when you're actually cold calling and doing these different things, you're still having conversations every single day with homeowners. When you're normal networking, you might not be having conversations with homeowners every single day, especially ones that might not even want to sell, because it's a very forced conversation, especially in that regard. So if you're having these conversations on the phone, you're talking with homeowners, even if they decide they don't want to sell, if you have a very, very good framework, a very good sales conversation with that prospect, they'll remember who you are, they'll take down your information for later, and guess what? They might refer you over other agents or other different people that you can end up helping out as well and sell their property instead. That is the beauty, and that's where actual network comes in, is from the actual work that you need to be doing on a daily, weekly, monthly basis. Now, another thing I see a lot of agents doing is they're trying to market before mastering sales. So one of the things I learned early on in sales and marketing as a whole is if I sat here and gave you 1,000 leads to your business right now, majority of agents will not close even 20% of all those deals. They'll say they're unqualified, they're not serious, and all these other excuses. But the reality is that your sales system and your sales framework isn't good enough to show the value that you bring to a homeowner and get them to dig up all the reasons why they might want to sell. That's the only reason why that does not work, right? So if I gave you 1,000 leads right now, you're not gonna make more money. You're not. Will you get a couple here and there? You get a couple listings here, a couple listings there. Yes, maybe your income grows slightly, but you don't want a slight increase in your income. You want to drastically grow your income. And that's what you need to be focusing on, is your sales ability, because if you can't close more deals, objection handling or anything like that is still going to come up, still going to be a problem for you. You're still not going to know how to move these conversations forward in the most effective way possible, and you're not going to get more listings, right? So if you can master cold calling, and you can master sales, and you can master objection handling and objection preventing, that's what's gonna allow you to get these conversations, move them forward, and set more listing appointments from it. Now, another thing I see a lot of agents doing, which is probably the biggest mistake I see agents doing, is they're relying on referrals instead of actually building out a sales system. Like if you rely on referrals, like you're waking up every single day saying, hey, someone else is gonna determine how much money I make today, regardless of how many hours I work. I could work 2 hours today. I could work 15 to 20 hours today. It doesn't make a difference if that person doesn't give me a referral. Like that's essentially what you're saying to yourself. That is not a good spot, especially if you have a family, you have kids, you have a wife, whatever it is, or a husband. If you are solely relying on referrals, you're at a very, very bad spot, okay? Because again, the whole goal as a real estate agent is to provide as much value as you possibly can and grow your business. And you're not gonna do that by relying on somebody else to give you a referral, to give you a deal. And that's why you've probably been spending tons of time, tons of money investing in these type of problems right here, and it's not getting you more deals, okay? So if I was a brand new real estate agent right now, today, this is exactly how I'd get a listing in the next 30 days. Again, if I completely started over. So my entire goal would be, like, the only goal I focus on is literally cold calling, okay? That's literally it. It's the fastest way to get listings by far compared to anything else. And again, doesn't require you to have more money, doesn't require you to have tons and tons of leads. You can get them for free, right? So you need to be prospecting for 1 to 3 hours every single day, Monday through Friday. So even if you do nothing else, you only did it for 2 hours, let's just say the middle, you did 2 hours a day, 10 hours a week on that end, you could probably be making more money than what most agents do in an entire year within a 6-month period just from doing this alone. As long as you implement the right sales framework, which we're gonna talk about here in a second as well, because again, the whole goal is not just to make a bunch of calls, it's to make the right calls, have the right conversations, and move them forward. Because as long as we're picking up the phone call, we have a better chance of actually getting a listing. But the way we increase the chances of getting a listing is having the right framework, okay? And again, with this, really all you need to be focusing on is for sale by owners or expired listings. And what most brokerages will probably tell you, the brokerage earlier I told you that already fails you already, what they'll probably tell you to do is not do either one of those. They don't want you to do that because they're too hard. They're really hard to get, actual listings from. It's not hard, it's that most agents just sound the same and they're giving you the same scripts to every single agent in their brokerage. That's why it's hard for them, because they all sound the exact same. They don't know how to handle objections. They don't know how to prevent them in the first place, and they don't move conversations forward. That's why they fail. So focus on for sale by owners, focus on expired listings, because if you can master those, everything else is easy. Literally everything else is easier. That's why I try to tell you, just focus on the hard stuff first, get amazing at it, and the rest of your career will be completely easy. Okay, so focus on those. If you don't know where to get them, go on Zillow, look up for sale by owners. You can find the contact information, go on the MLS, you can find expired listings, you're good to go. Like, it's super, super easy. Don't need more leads. Just pick up your phone, make some calls, okay? And what you need to do is use a proven script or a proven framework. Now, normal scripts do not work. Like I said, the one that broker just gives you out and hands out to every single agent, it's not going to work for you, because what you need is a more customized and tailored solution to you specifically as an agent. So you know it's gonna work for you, you know it's gonna work for your market, you know it's gonna work for how you talk to prospects, show you how to handle objections, prevent them in the first place. That's what you need to learn how to do, okay? So here's kind of a quick outline. What we do is what we call the OPDFC method. Okay. And really what this breaks down to is really just an opening pattern. So the first thing you're saying to a prospect when you get on the phone, it needs to be something that interrupts the pattern that they're used to hearing. Because every single agent says, hey, my name is Josh, I'm with eXp Realty. Are you looking to sell your property? They're gonna say, no, they're gonna hang up the phone, right? Because they've heard that 1,000 other times by other agents. So the first thing you need to do is, again, just have a pattern interrupt. Say something different, say something that's gonna catch their attention, and don't try to sell right out the gate. The whole goal of cold calling is not to get a listing just yet, it's to set an appointment. So once you can make that mental shift and understand that your whole goal is just to get somebody to have a follow-up meeting with you, that's your whole goal. That's literally the whole goal. And as soon as you do that, that's when you'll start getting more listings. So make sure your opening statement is very, very good and interrupts the pattern that most agents use every single day, every single week, every single month, right? The next thing you need to do is ask the right discovery questions so we can actually dive into their pain and dive into their problems, because the number one thing that's actually gonna set a listing appointment on a cold call is being able to understand their intentions and their wants and their needs. If you're just going into it saying all the things that you can do for them, saying that you can sell their property in 30 days for the highest price, they know it's BS. They do, because you're telling them a lie. Because what if, for example, just think about it like this. What if, for example, a prospect told you they wanted to sell their $500,000 home for $1 million, and you're coming into it without not even knowing that. Like, that's what they want to sell it for. Again, that might be a stupid thing that they want to do, but let's just say you don't understand that yet, and you're going into that conversation already saying you can find a buyer for them. They're going to say that's complete BS. They know you can't find a buyer yet, and you don't even know that you can find a buyer for them yet either. Because if you did, you would show up and say, hey, I already have a buyer. His name's John. He wants to buy the property. And you would connect them with it, and you would get a referral from it. But that's not what you're doing. So they can understand this. So we need to ask the right questions to dig into their pain, dig into their problem, and ultimately we can use that as leverage to move the conversation forward and set the listing appointment from there. And again, the last thing we need to do is lead to an appointment. Again, I want to really preface this by putting capitalizations. Do not ask for a listing. Ask for a listing appointment to show them the value you could potentially bring and help them relieve them of their pains and of their problems. That's it. You're not trying to get a listing yet. As soon as you start saying listing, they can smell it. It's called commission breath. They can hear, they can sense, they can smell that you just want to get a paycheck. And when you're desperate like that, it comes across like that on the phone, they pick up on it, and that's why they're not interested, okay? So you need to make sure you're not asking for the listing, you're asking for the appointment. That's the big thing. And on top of that, the last thing I need you guys to do if you really want to get a listing in the next 30 days is to follow up, right? So again, say this, for example, you spend 1 to 2 hours in the morning, you're cold calling the prospects, you get through all those numbers that you can call through for that morning, call them again in the evening, right? Because maybe that person's at work, maybe they're a little bit busy in the morning, recycle back through them, because 20 to 30% of your appointments are literally going to come from the follow-ups that you do or that you don't do. So you can literally be leaving 30% of your income on the table from not doing the follow-ups when you're cold calling. Right? So say you wanted just to make 100 grand a year, super easy, 100 grand a year, nothing crazy, right? 100 grand a year, you're leaving 30 grand on the table by not doing this. 30 grand. How many of you right now watching this could use an extra 30 grand in your business? Probably the majority of you if you're watching this right now. So you need to be doing your follow-up and use text, use voicemails, use emails, all strategically. And again, whenever you're doing these things, make sure when you're following up with prospects, you're not just saying, hey, again, I want to help you sell your property. You're providing value. You need to actually provide value, help alleviate them of their potential pains and problems, which, mind you, quick note on that, there's usually only 2 problems that a prospect's facing. Either A, they want to sell their home for the most amount of money possible, or they want to sell it fast. That's usually the 2 things they'd want if they actually want to sell their property. That's completely it. So use those as leverage, use this entire strategy, use this entire framework, and you'll get more listings. And if you want help actually getting to $45,000 a month as a real estate agent right now, regardless of what market you're in, we work with agents in US and in Canada. Click the top link in the description. I'll help you. If you're already above $45,000 a month, we do have an inner circle. It's 20 grand for a year. Super, super high level. We'll show you how to actually build $1 million business. But for majority of agents, you want to get to $45,000 a month, click that first link in the top of the description, and I'll help you get more listings.